Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Before we review this week, thank you again. Just crazy. 5k hit on Saturday. Jesus, that is crazy. Shout out to everyone, all the people who've been there, some of them since day one. Everyone who comments, we're halfway to 10k. We can do this. We can get to 10k. No problem. We've got the 5, we get to 10. It's just crazy. Big up to everyone. My channel officially now has more subscribers than some of the major towns in Ireland have people. Imagine that. There's a place in the middle of Ireland in a county called Leitrim called Carrick-on-Shannon, and they've only got about like 4,000 people in it, and that's their biggest town. And my channel has more. That's crazy. I mean, I was thinking, I use Carrick-on-Shannon as an analogy there. That is not, I say town, it's like right in the middle of Ireland. It's full of hillbillies. Like some of the lads there, literally, I don't think they've realised yet that you can't mate with fruit. So that's how bad that town is. But seriously though, it's just been crazy. Thanks to everyone who subscribed, supports the channel. Just really appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. Last thing before we review the week, have a look on screen there. Outmatch Boxing, great channel. Brother in arms, if you could, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description and in the comment section. Subscribe, tell him G-Man sent you. Makes excellent content for someone who's just starting out. He edits the videos well, does his own thumbnails. Absolutely fantastic. So I'd appreciate it if you could help him out. He's a mate, so please go over there, show your support. Alright people, review of the week time. Now I'm gonna try my best not to keep this review too much about what happened on Saturday night, because review of the week is about everything. It's about everything that happened in the week. I don't want to leave it on one specific subject. I will say about Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. I'm either going to record it tonight or tomorrow, because it'll go up tomorrow evening at some stage. And I'll say that I think that fight needs to happen for a third time, because we didn't get a decisive ending. As we know, fight ended in a technical draw. Absolute BS. As far as I was concerned, from what I saw in that fight, it was going one way, and it was repeat. It literally looked, I think I was texting my mate Niall this, it literally looked like the first fight, just with fans. That's the best way I can describe it. Everything Mauricio Lara was having success with, even the way he was throwing the punches, where he was like looping the shots to the body, was the exact same as the first fight. He was having success. Warrington was staying in the pocket way too long. I was looking at him when he was trading, and I was like, what are you doing? The whole reason you lost that first fight, several reasons, one of them was because you stayed in the pocket too long. And what are you doing? Staying in the pocket too long. So I think the writing was on the wall for that. I think that for Mauricio Lara, they need to get a rematch just for him, because I feel like he was proper hard done by in there. And that cut is going to, I'm going to touch on this later in a separate video, but that cut is going to have hindered him moving forward, because he's going to have to, and I would hope Matchroom would pay for this, pay for plastic surgery. And that cut, when you have a cut like that, where you need surgery to get it, mended, it never fully heals. It's never going to be fully, it's always going to be a bit fragile. So he could have issues with that moving forward in, however many years to come. So, look, I'll touch on that. As for the rest of the card, I talked about Benn. Ben didn't look particularly amazing. He didn't set the world alight, in my opinion, against Adrian Granados. Now, Adrian Granados is a veteran at this stage. He knows how to survive. He knows how to ride the shots. He knows how to take the sting out of them. He knew what he needed to do in there. He done a good job running around the ring. But Benn, for me, looked very one-paced. I said this in my post-fight. He wasn't setting the shots up well. He was looking to load up a lot on shots. And someone with a good bit of timing, or a decent bit of speed, they would light Benn up like a Christmas tree. So Ben will need to see what they do. David Avenisian is European champion. Now he is, I don't know if this is a done deal, but he's going to be fighting a guy called Liam Davis on Sky. So I wonder, is he working with Boxer now? And is there going to be a bit of an issue? Well, we know, Eddie, look, we know they don't want that fight for Benn. I mean, I think Eddie Hearn said he wanted to get Avenisian a world title shot. So he could vacate the European title. They don't want that fight. I think David Avenisian will beat Conor Benn. But if they ever were to look, maybe go down that avenue, I think now that he's with Sky, it might, well, he could be with, maybe he's doing just a fight by fight, I don't know. But that could be a bit difficult. You know, I don't know how willing Sky would be to work with Eddie Hearn in the zone or vice versa, you know, because it didn't seem like they had the most cordial of splits, we'll call it like that. Maxie Hughes fought on that card. Max Hughes for me was the performance of the night. He boxed brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. It was brilliant to watch. He really, that's what you call a schooling. You know, he did everything but stop Giovanni Straffon, and he nearly did in the 5th round. It was excellent. That was the only round where Maxie Hughes wasn't economical with his shots because he was trying to get the guy out of there. But for the rest of the time, he wasn't missing an inch. He wasn't missing a beat. He was economical. He wasn't moving excessively. He was brilliant. Now, Katie Taylor won her fight. Katie Taylor at lightweight, I think, is the wrong weight division for her. Now, I know she's done great things there. She's undisputed champion, all that jazz. But when I look at Katie Taylor, I look at her last 2 opponents. Natasha Jonas came up from super featherweight to fight Katie Taylor. Natasha Jonas is the bigger woman on the night in terms of just body mass. Likewise with this Jennifer Han girl, she was brought up from featherweight to fight Katie Taylor. Again, she looked the bigger fighter on the night. I think that Katie Taylor, maybe if she, because she started her career at super feather, I wonder if she might be looking at maybe potentially moving down in weight, because I think at lightweight, and certainly if she goes to 140, I think that could be an issue. The sheer size of the other opponent. Look, it was clockwork performance. She did what she needed to do. We'll see, which is, I think Eddie Hearn said he's going to try and do another mandatory by the end of the year. So look, we'll see how that goes. Who else was on this card? Oh yeah, Hopi Price looked excellent. I was very impressed with Hopi Price. One thing about Hopi Price, I was wondering about his punching power. Now I know he got a knockdown in his last fight with the opponent with the last shot of the fight, and it did look like if it had gone on even for 10 seconds, Hopi would have got him out of there. He looked very, very devastating in this fight. He looked like he was hitting a lot harder. So very impressed with Hopi Price so far. We need to see how he gets on and just keep following his career progression. Ebony Bridges fought a French lady whose name I actually remembered it earlier. Now I can't remember, but she forgot a French girl. Now, I'll be frank. A lot of people were saying the French girl won it. I only saw, because I haven't watched it today, I only saw round 6, 7, 8. Alright, and in those rounds, it looked like the French girl was winning them rounds. But from what I could gather, Bridges was won the first half and the French girl won the second half. That's kind of how it was. It was a fight of 2 halves. Bridges' main issue came when she broke, I think she broke it anyway, her right hand. And it did, I seen pictures of it, it did look swollen as hell. Not going to comment because I didn't see it. And I can't say, oh, this person won, that person won, when I didn't see a fight fully through. From the rounds I saw, 6, 7, 8, French girl was having the success, but I don't know. Ebony Bridge could have been lighting her up in the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds, I don't know. So I'll reserve judgment on that. That's that card in a nutshell. Now we go back during the week, and the big kind of talking point during the week was Sky. Sky announced their next few shows. So obviously we know Sky have a deal with Top Rank. They're working with Top Rank. That's 100%. That's fine. We know the Top Rank shows are normally quite good. You know, they normally are quite good. They have a very good stable of fighters. So when we're seeing Top Rank fights over here, you know, on Sky or BT with Box Nation, do you know something? Just going off topic. When Box Nation was in its heyday, I don't think we appreciated what we had. Because when I look back now retrospectively, they were getting all the fights. You know, I got Box Nation free because I had a BT Sport subscription. I still actually have it, but I don't get Box Nation free anymore. But when Frank Warren was putting his shows on Box Nation, you were getting a lot of Top Rank shows, you were getting some PBC shows, you were getting cards over in Russia, you were getting a lot of boxing, in all fairness, and it was only boxing. You were getting highlight shows as well. Looking back, obviously with the benefit of retrospect now, that wasn't actually such a bad little deal. 12 quid, now I didn't pay it because I had BT Sport subscription, but some people were paying it. Maybe you would say it was a bit steep, but all things considered, that wasn't actually a bad deal. And considering how many fights you were getting a lot of Canelo fights, you were getting Golden Boy cards, the odd PBC cards, you got Top Rank cards, you were getting a fair bit of boxing. It had to be said on Box Nation back in the day. You know, it wasn't as bad as I think people make it out to be. I just think that it never really, I think that was a time when just paying for one sport would never really take off. I mean, you can imagine if they had AJ Frank Warren, what Box Nation would have done, it'd probably be still, it'd be a powerhouse probably nowadays. But Sky announced their deal with Boxer and Wasman. Like, that's part of Sauerland basically, or in cooperation with them. I don't know, are both these guys linked, Boxer and Sauerland, or is it just they're kind of opening it up? Like, so Boxer would probably be the main one Sky work with, and Wasman would be maybe a secondary one, or something like that. Worse to that, something like that, because I know Sky have done other shows in the past like MTK and stuff like that. So wait and see. But in terms of the fighters they announced, few surprises. Savannah Marshall signed with Boxer. Now, she was meant to fight on Fight Camp Week 3, and she never did. I would imagine this is the main reason. So her and Clarissa Shields, they're both signed to Boxer, over here. So Sky will be putting their fights on. I think that means we're going to likely get that fight, which is it's a great fight. Like, I like that fight. I think Savannah Marshall wins. I think she lifts Clarissa Shields clean off the ground. Savannah Marshall is my favourite female fighter to watch. She's just got a mixture of skill and power, and she goes for the knockout. She's absolutely brilliant to watch. Love watching Savannah Marshall. So that's good. I did think Eddie Hearn was doing a decent enough job with her, to be fair. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be loyal to promoters. If Sky can make the fight and they're paying you more money, Eddie done a good job, but you go where the green is. You go. If they can get you the bigger fights, you go. Hughie Fury has gone to Sky. Now, that didn't surprise me, to be fair. I was pretty sure he was on a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. I was pretty sure he was on a 3-fight deal. And who did he fight? He fought Povetkin on his first fight. I mean, Jesus, talk about... They done his career backwards, if you think about it. Because he fought Mariusz Wach, Pavel Sowers in his last 2 fights. Obviously, not in that order. I think he fought... no, actually, he did fight him in that order. And you would expect that to lead into a Povetkin fight, not the other way around. But they never really done much with Hughie Fury other than feed him to Povetkin. I was kind of a head scratcher. Why did you sign Hughie Fury? I was like, people aren't really jumping for joy at the prospect of watching Hughie Fury. Now, they announced his next fight. Even just saying it just makes me think, what the... Hughie Fury versus Christian Hammer. That is going to be an absolute stinker. If you have any mates with insomnia, I'm telling you now, stick them in front of that and they will be asleep by the 3rd round. They will be thanking you, because that fight is going to be an absolute... Hughie Fury is so negative sometimes. He did look a little bit more aggressive against Mariusz Wach, but him against Hammer, I mean, Hammer is as negative as you like. I mean, Povetkin, when he fought Povetkin, that was still Povetkin with a little bit left, and he made that fight a stinker. Absolute stinker over 12 rounds. Hammer, who else has Hammer fought? He's had some fun fights, like against David Price, but for the most part his fights are normally not good. Normally not too good at all. So that's not a great fight. Lewis Ritson, not surprising. Eddie Hearn really did try and build Lewis Ritson. I think they said he was what was it, the Sunderland or Newcastle Golovkin or something like that. That didn't go too well. That aged terribly. But yeah, he really is in the doldrum now. So obviously trying something new with Boxer. We'll see how it goes. I think Lewis Ritson's found his level. I really do. British level. If he can do 135 safely, it might be worth going back down there. Certainly, I think maybe a step up to European level at 135 pound was too soon the first time. Maybe if he comes back down and they can do it the right way, maybe it's not out of reach now. But certainly Lewis Ritson, I'm not surprised with that. Eubank Jr. is the marquee name. He is really the marquee name to go to... Well, I don't know about Boxer, but Sauerland certainly. He is the marquee name on Sky. So they will have him against Sven Elbeer on October 2nd. And Sauerland have said that it's going to lead into a pay-per-view with Eubank Jr. Now, whoever that's going to be against, I don't know. Eubank Jr. obviously has done pay-per-views in the past. Some of them real stinkers in terms of the fights, but some of them very good, like against George Groves and James DeGale. I'm thinking names. The 2 names at middleweight you would think for Eubank Jr. would be Triple G, and you would also think Murata. Now, Triple G is with the Zone, so I don't know if they could do that. But Murata and Triple G, they seem like they're about to lock horns. It seems the 2 of them are going to go and fight in December, so I can't imagine it's going to be either of them. Other name would be Erislandy Lara. Now, would Lara be a big enough name in the UK? He's not exactly a massive name in the States, but former opponent of Canelo, did a very good job against him. You know, Lara's a very good fighter, an excellent fighter. Pay-per-view, I don't know would they do that on pay-per-view. And if I was a manager of Eubank Jr., I'm just surmising it could be Lara, because he's got a regular version WBA title, and I think they might mandate that fight. But I'm just thinking, if I'm managing Eubank Jr., Erislandy Lara is one of the fighters I will be thinking to keep him away from Eubank Jr. Erislandy Lara, although he's definitely seen better days, you know, he's definitely not in his prime anymore, he's still an excellent boxer, very slick, good legs, good movement, excellent fundamentals, southpaw. That just spells disaster for Eubank Jr. Like, he won't be able to catch up to Lara, I don't believe. Even an older Lara won't be able to catch up with him. I think stylistically that's a no. I wouldn't. And that kind of leaves you questioning, who else is there? Gabe Rosado? Would you do that on pay-per-view, really? Surely not. Who else? And he's gone. I think he's at super middleweight now anyway. But who else is there? Lemieux? Would they get? He's a super middleweight as well. Who would you get for Eubank Jr. to fight? You know, would you get Munguia? Would he come to the UK? I can't really think of anyone, to be honest with you, off the top of my head anyway, who you could say is a big enough draw, maybe respectively, to do a pay-per-view with Eubank Jr. That's not exactly going to stylistically be a hindrance. I really can't think of anybody. I'm just... Tony Harris, he's pretty slick, and he's 154, but they could move him up. Yeah, that's a head scratcher. Don't know who they'd get. But they also announced other shows. You know, they announced the boxer event. They didn't say what weight. Those boxer shows, they normally don't have the best fighters, but they're normally actually quite fun to watch. 3-round sprints. So, you know, watch the space with Sky. I think this could be interesting to see. We'll give them some time. I wouldn't be judgmental after the first few shows. You know, it's a new promoter. We'll see how they go. They'll have growing pains, of course they will, but we'll see how that goes. What else do we have? Oh yes, Caleb Plant, and I'm going to touch on Valdes now in a sec. Caleb Plant now training with Andre Ward. I don't know if Andre Ward's going to be training him per se, but I know he's been seen in pictures with Andre Ward. With Andre Ward gave advice. Andre Ward is a very, very, very excellent pundit, excellent analyst, great boxing brain. Having him would give Caleb Plant some useful insight into the mind of a truly elite fighter. But at the end of the day, you can only... Caleb Plant is what he is. Caleb Plant is going to get absolutely battered against Canelo, in my opinion. I can't see this fight going any more than 8 rounds. I think you could give him Emmanuel Stewart if he was still alive, and Caleb Plant would still get battered by Canelo. Just in my opinion. But Andre Ward might teach him a thing or two, you know, maybe to, you know, fight a little bit up close. You know, Andre Ward is a very good inside fighter, was able to shut opponents down very well on the inside. So maybe you could teach him something like that, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Obviously the big talking point is Oscar Valdez. But Valdez failed the drugs test. Now Valdez failed for, I believe it wasn't necessarily a PED in a sense of, well, the WBC gave him a pass because as far as they're concerned, it's not a performance enhancer per se that's going to give you more stamina. Well, it's a drug that, from what I've researched and what I've heard from, it's a drug that will help you cut weight easier. So essentially means that you can be bigger at the weight and you can take more weight off essentially without having to really artificially drain yourself. That to me is a performance enhancer. It is. And I see Mike Coppinger tweet one of the most... It really shows how farcical the WBC really are, and how corrupt and how scumbaggery these people are. They stripped. And look, I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't have, but they stripped Dave Benavidez for using cocaine, a recreational drug, whilst he had no fight. Now, personally, I think they've done the right thing in stripping him. Personally, I do. I know I said neither here nor there, but personally I think it was the right thing to do, because recreational or not, you just don't. But with this one, they're saying, well, it's not. But you stripped the guy for a recreational drug outside of camp. You're letting this guy go ahead with, and as far as I'm aware, this fight is still going ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last time I checked, this fight still was going ahead. If I was managing the other fighter, I would be pulling out of that fight instantly. instantly. I remember when Povetkin tested positive for Osterine, they pulled that fight instantly with Stavern. Right, the fight went ahead with Povetkin and Johan Duhaupas, but there was no title on the line. Instantly pulled that fight. Povetkin, when he tested positive for meldonium, and some of the tests came back clean, some of them didn't, instantly they took action on that. So they will take action if it's someone they don't really care about. But if it's a cash cow, or someone they perceive to be a cash cow, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Absolutely disgraceful. As if I thought after their most recent ruling with what they want their officials to do, as if I thought the WBC could sink any lower after that. They've gone ahead and done it. Bear in mind, some people might not be aware of this, but there was an 18-year-old fighter, a young lady, who fought in Canada last weekend. Her name escapes me. I will put a picture of her box rec on here, who sadly, tragically lost her life last weekend in the ring. Tragic. Only 18 years old. And they're letting this fight go ahead. Let that sink in. And R.I.P. to that young lady. Unfortunately, her name, I cannot exactly get it out there, but just absolutely tragic. So R.I.P. and condolences go out to her friends and family. I just can't imagine it. It's horrific. And the WBC allowing this to go on, absolutely disgraceful behaviour from the WBC. If I said WBA, apologies. WBC, disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. And if this fight does go ahead, I seriously hope no one gets seriously hurt. That's all I want. Just no one get hurt in that fight. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But it's just... I seen Sonny Edwards saying that we need one major governing body. I just don't know how that would work. I don't know if you could do that, but something needs to change seriously. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's not perfect with any drug testing agency. You know, if you look at UCAT, there have been occasions, and I've heard several people, I'm not going to say the fighter, but I've heard several people tell me a story about a fighter who missed who was a known fighter who missed a bit of time out of the ring. That's not Tyson Fury, by the way. But he missed a bit of time out of the ring, quite a little bit of time. And people were wondering why he was so inactive. And it turned out, well, this is from what I've heard, that it was popped, but UCAT never admitted it. You know, I'm not mentioning who it is, but I was like, well, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. It's just absolutely ridiculous what's going on in this sport. It really is. Boxing is never going to be a safe sport, but you want to at least keep it clean. You don't want to increase any risk if you don't need to. And you have this absolutely just... What do you have? I don't even know. Filip Hrgović now has a fight coming up this coming week. I believe his opponent was announced only last weekend, I think it was. And forget the guy's name, undefeated, but nobody of note. Literally beaten nobody of note. I like Filip Hrgović. I think he's an excellent fighter. It's not his fault at the end of the day that he's fighting poor up. Well, I'm sure they could have got someone better than that in there. I'm not going to give him a full pass, but he was mandated to fight Michael Hunter for a mandatory shot at Anthony Joshua. Michael Hunter didn't want it. No one else in the top 15 seems to want that smoke with Filip Hrgović. Me personally, I would just make it mandatory. Because how can you make someone fight for the right to be mandatory if no one wants to fight him? Surely you should say, right, by default then you are mandatory. If no one's willing to fight you, then I might just make it mandatory. Filip Hrgović will be back this week. I like Filip Hrgović. Also previewing some of the fights this week, actually. I know it's a review of their week, not this coming week. But still, we've got some good fights on this week. Kerman Lara is fighting on Saturday actually. I really like him. I really like his style. Even though I think he's limited, he is very fun to watch. The only thing is, this card's in Spain. The last DAZN card that happened in Spain, the officiating was abysmal. Probably some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad officiating. That was right up there. So we'll need to watch what the officiating is like on this Spanish card. Alright, and it's nothing to do with DAZN. It's the actual people over there. But we'll need to see what this looks like over there in Spain. Because I'll never forget that. The officiating on that show was a joke. So we'll need to see how this one goes. I think that's... Apologies again, people. Phone just died while you're recording. Always picks the worst time. But I'm near the end of this now anyway. The last thing I want to touch on is Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthurs. Now, during the week, I done a video just talking about, like, well, basically, it was coming off the back of Yard's last performance where he fought an absolute pudding. And I was saying, look, what the hell was the point of this? Well, that fight is now in doubt. You know, I'm hearing stories that, you know, it's coming from Lyndon Arthurs. I don't think them and Warren are exactly seeing eye to eye. So that fight could be binned. Now, I like that fight. I hope that's not the case. Because what do they do with Anthony Yard if he doesn't have the rematch with Lyndon Arthur? You know, because that's a good measuring stick. If he beats Lyndon Arthurs, maybe they can bring him to European or God knows what they do. Are they just going to throw him in at a world level again, having fought literally nobody since his loss to Lyndon Arthurs? So I hope that they would be smart and they would go down the Lyndon Arthurs road. They can get to whatever kind of agreement, because I think it's an interesting fight. Yard should be winning that fight, but God knows what will happen at this stage. I really don't know. So I think that's pretty much the week in a nutshell. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you all have just the best Monday, great week, you know, all that. I send all that good stuff out to you guys. You know, I hope you all do have a great time. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I hope some of you get some good news this week. I said that, and I literally the next day got a text from Ade to cover in for stand in for Garrett A. Davis on his show. I was like, that's what you get. That's what I get for saying someone's good news is going to happen. It happened to your boy. But honestly, though, I really do hope some of you do get that. For now, I'll talk to you. You'll get some videos from me tomorrow evening as well. But for now, peace.